Okay, so you're all here to learn about our pen pal program orientation. Um, I thought I would start with explaining to you all who CCF is, or what it is that we do. So our organization, the Coalition for Civil Freedoms, is a survivor-led nonprofit organization that seeks to end the abuses of war on terror while supporting current and former prisoners and their families. Founded in 2010 by a former political prisoner while under house arrest, CCF is a coalition of 12 organizations that challenges governmental overreach and the post 9/11 targeting, surveillance, and criminalization of Muslims by federal law enforcement. Um, so we do really great work, in my opinion, and I think we're an amazing organization. And just some of the areas that we work in. So we do a lot of education and outreach. We provide legal services to prisoners. We do advocacy research. We track policy, or we do tracking and we do policy work. We do grassroots mobilization. We also, everyone that we work with is, either a former prisoner themselves or a current political prisoner, or also their family members. So we're very much, by and for, like, created by and made for political prisoners and their families. Um, and yeah, we, through direct action, we try to mobilize our communities to end this type of political repression. This type of political repression being, the end of political prisoners, and we work with predominantly Muslim political prisoners. And I thought I would also define that for you all, just so that you guys can also get an understanding of what prisoners you will be assigned to be pen pals with. Let me just read that here, sorry. So we define political prisoner as a person who was targeted, criminally prosecuted, or imprisoned due to their political views, beliefs, cultural identity, or activism. So that's CCF's definition of political prisoner. I also want to introduce to you all the Palestinian Youth Movement, who, without their help, I couldn't have created this very beautiful presentation and organized this. So they're really great. And so what the Palestinian Youth Movement is they're a transnational independent grassroots movement of young Palestinian and Arabs organizing towards the right of return and the dismantling of Zionism and the liberation of our homelands. PYM works with local, so we have a bunch of local chapters, and we work with our own communities. We do joint struggle work, we do transnational work, and we have a ton of different projects and campaigns that you guys can learn about if you go to our website, palestinianyouthmovement.com. So yes, now on to the reason why you're all here. So about our pen pal program. Our pen pal program, it's basically an initiative for us to connect you all with prisoners that CCF works with, and providing them a support that is the social connection, which is arguably one of the most important forms of support that you can provide to prisoners. It's, I think, very simple and easy. Anyone can do it. But I think the whole purpose of me, having this presentation and bringing you all here is so that I can kind of go over with you guys the responsibilities and like what it means to be a pen pal, so that you can decide for yourself if this is something that you can take on and if you can fulfill the role and if this is a responsibility that you can do right and correctly. So if you can't, no hard feelings, that's okay. But if you can, you'll really be making a world of a difference for, a prisoner and for, their own well-being. So I think not all of us can provide financial support, not all of us can provide legal support, not all of us can provide, different types of support that, these prisoners might need, but what you can be is, their friend. Which brings me to what is being a pen pal? So it's basically being a friend. I don't know how many of you guys have friends. If you have friends, you know what responsibility comes with being a friend. Basically, there's just, very basic things that you would do with your friends, and that's pretty much the expectation of what you'll be doing with your pen pal. There's obviously some differences, but we'll go through everything right now. But yeah, F is for friends. So your role as a pen pal. Um, the first thing that your goal is through being a pen pal is to forge an authentic relationship or friendship with your pen pal. So that happens through the letter writing process. You are you tell them about yourself, they tell you about yourself. It's really just the regular way that a friendship works. And with some time, you guys become friends. Um, you will talk and you will listen and you'll share and you'll receive. So it's a two-way street, just like any other friendship. It's a give and take. You talk, they talk, you listen, and like you respond. And you have to be willing to share some things about yourself. You obviously don't have to share anything or like anything very specific or very intimate details, but you are expected to talk about yourself and they will talk about themselves to you, and you'll listen and you'll engage with them on topics that they're interested in, and then also on topics that you're interested in. You're expected to be consistent in your communication. So we ask that you write your pen pal at least once a month, but consistently. So I think like that's really a key aspect of this is that you are a reliable pen pal. And I think that's like, that's the main responsibility that like we ask of you, is that we can rely on your consistent communication with your pen pal, and that you won't that it's not just something that you're doing for a short term, but rather this is like a long-term friendship that you're planning on maintaining for, between you and your pen pal. So yeah, we want you to be a reliable social connection, and this is a commitment, and that's kind of why I hope that you guys can like ask yourself whether this is a commitment that you can take on, and be honest with yourself, just because it is very detrimental on their own well-being when you commit to something and then you don't follow through. Be aware and transparent about your own boundaries. So, and that kind of goes with not over promising and under delivering. You should be very clear with what it is that you are willing to talk about or not willing to talk about. You should be aware of those things. Like you need to sit and ask yourself, what am I willing to share with this person, or like what am I willing to do? What's my time commitment look like? So I can you need to be clear, like I can only write him once a month, and then that's it, and that's what you would do. Or you can say like, oh no, I can actually do twice a month, or whatever it is. I can maybe even do some research for some research questions that my pen pal might have. I can even send them a book. You can kind of figure out for yourself what you have the capacity to do, and how much you have the capacity to engage in with your pen pal. But the point is just to be honest and clear, and to not overextend yourself, and not be able to follow through on what it is that you said that you would do. You're expected to reach out to us when there's reason for concern. So like if you feel like there's something wrong, if something doesn't look right, doesn't sound right, you should contact us. Like we just recently had a pen pal contact us, say my pen pal hasn't been responding, and that's what you should do. If your pen pal's not responding, then that's cause for concern. And you'll reach out to us, and I found out through that their pen pal was put in solitary confinement. So it's really important that you guys let us know when there's something that isn't right or isn't typical or normal. Let us know if you can't continue being someone's pen pal. So I mean, the goal is that you're committed to this and that you will do this long term. But for whatever reason, if it's something that you can't continue, we expect that you're not going to just like fall off the face of the planet and disappear and never tell anyone anything, and like kind of leave us to figure out that you stopped communicating at whatever point. We just expect that you'll come to us and you'll say like, hey, I can't do this, especially because then I have to go in there and I have to talk to the prisoner and I have to say, okay, let's find you someone new, and try to mitigate whatever follows after that. So as for your expectations, I'm also hoping to set expectations, or try to help you guys understand what it actually means to be a pen pal. I know like some people kind of don't even are joining here just trying to really understand what it even looks like. It's something that they're interested in, but they really want to learn more. So here's like what you can expect. You can expect that you're building towards a friendship, so expect it to take time. It might feel a little awkward, stiff, or unnatural at first, but just like any other friendship, you're getting to know this person, they're getting to know you, so it's just going to take some time before there's like a natural flow to the conversation, or a natural connection. You're not going to have this like instantaneous connection with your pen pal, and like there's definitely a learning curve, where you need to learn what their writing style is, and they're going to learn yours, and there, there's all these factors that contribute to it. But I think if you just stay committed to it, you can expect there to be a beautiful friendship, that comes from it. um your pen pal might ask you to discuss topics that you're not familiar with. So, I mean, just like many people, I have many friends who have different interests than I do. And I have different interests than they do, but like they still will make an effort to like understand my interests, or to like, learn about the things that I'm interested in, to like engage in conversation with me on them, or like to at least like, support me in my interests. And I'll do the same for them, even though it's not my cup of tea, I'll still try to support them through it, or understand, or do my own research, or look into what's important to them, because that's like, I think, part of being a good friend. Yeah. And your pen pal might be looking for more than just friendship. And that's very normal, and that's very expected, as far as, especially when you're talking to male pen pals, who have been in prison for how many ever years, and a lot of them were locked up very young. So I think it's very typical, normal, and expected. But I've never ever had an issue with a pen pal not respecting my boundary. I'll always just communicate to them automatically, like, I'm not interested, or I'm not looking for a relationship, I'm not interested in having that type of relationship with you. And they like almost automatically will just back off, and like continue on in a respectful relationship. So I think like establishing your boundaries and communicating that to your pen pal is very important. um and if you have trouble doing that, reach out, and I can definitely help you, phrase it, or like figure out the language. I know I've had trouble, phrasing how I want to establish a boundary, and I've just like, reached out to a friend or someone and said, hey, like, how would you say this nicely? Because it's also really important that you communicate your boundaries, with like compassion, and like, in a loving way, and you don't just kind of like, say it to them in a cold manner. So like I'll typically say like, that's very kind of you, and you're, I'm actually like, flattered that you have interest in me, but I'm not interested in like, in moving in this direction. And that's just like one way to put it. Um, Not every letter requires the same amount of effort. So being a pen pal doesn't have to be this like really intense commitment. You don't have to like spend hours writing letters, every month or every week. It can be, you can really go wherever you want to go with it, but you know, some months you might have like more going on, so you won't be able to write a very lengthy letter. You might just write, a shorter letter, and then another month you might have more free time, so you'll write a more lengthy letter. We just The expectation is that you stay consistent, so like you don't have to necessarily write a whole essay of a letter. But it's important that you do write a letter, and that you don't skip a month. We're hoping that you guys will will kind of give more than the bare minimum, but just understand that it doesn't have to be like, even the simplest letters still like, mean something. Especially when it's consistent, and it's like long term, and it's genuine, and it's authentic, and it's coming from a true place of care. um like I said, there might be there's a learning curve, there might be some bumps in the road, which is true for all friendships. It's just a matter of like, being clear, and moving forward, or trying to move forward. And if there is any like, glaring issues, like, please do reach out to us. So you can expect our support throughout the process. It's we can't handhold you the whole way, like, you are like, I'm trying to also help you guys understand like what you will be responsible for. But if there's ever a time that you're stuck, or you kind of just don't know what to do, just shoot me an email, shoot me a text. You guys will have my email, and when I pair you, I'll give you my phone number so you can text me. Um, and just let me know, and I can, respond to you very quickly, and try to help you out, whenever it is that you feel stuck. So, you'll never be on your own to figure it out. So these are just some things that you should refrain from discussing with your pen pal. Their legal case. I've had instances in which pen pals will try to discuss their legal case with me, and especially if they're pre-trial, it could really harm them. Um, so most prisoners will know not to do this, but some might still do it. And I kind of just say, hey, like, you do realize that what we're discussing, like, this conversation is not confidential, so like, I don't, just be careful with what you share with me. um that's kind of what I say. So I think just definitely try to refrain from discussing their legal case, especially if they're pre-trial. Politics, and I put a little note on the bottom that says discuss this with caution. So I think just definitely exercise caution in the things that you're saying, and refrain from making very strong political statements that could get them in trouble. Because remember, at the end of the day, they're the ones that are gonna face the consequences, not you. And so it's very important that you don't say something that's going to end up having a negative impact on them. Like, I know that we've had a prisoner before who when we've shared his poetry, he would get in trouble for it. So, like, he was the one that at the end of the day was getting in trouble for us publishing or putting online his poetry. So, just be careful. um Refrain from discussing the legal system. Don't discuss issues that might be hurtful or emotionally distressing for the prisoner, unless they initiate that conversation. So, like, don't ask them like very, very personal or intimate questions. Kind of just like the way you would with a new friendship, you would kind of keep the conversation more light and kind of see where things go. And also just like pick up certain cues from like the letters that they write, that will indicate to you, like, what's okay to talk about, what's not okay. And then also, if it's unclear, then you can just definitely straight up ask and say, like, hey, like, would I be able to talk to you about this, or would you be okay with me talking to me about this? And obviously feel free to say no, or like don't, like, you're under no obligation to say yes, is how I would phrase it. um don't, I mean, be careful when sharing details about yourself. I like definitely wouldn't share any really intimate details about you or your life, because just remember that any letter that you do send is likely screened by the prison. um and so I would just definitely be careful when sharing that, and keeping in mind that whatever you do share about yourself is likely going to be read by someone else that's not your pen pal. And when in doubt, please, like I've said like 6 times already, please reach out to us. Things you can talk about. So, I mean, you're gonna write your first letter. What are you gonna say? How are you gonna phrase it? What are you gonna do? So you can talk about yourself, your family, who you are, where you grew up, your passions, your aspirations, where you went to school, how many siblings you have, you know, things that you do for fun. What are your interests? What do you like to read books? What books do you like to read? What movies do you like to watch, or TV shows? You know, I would, start off by like explaining to them, just about who you are, but then also like trying to like say like, okay, so like, what do you like? What are you interested in? Like, what can I talk, like, do we have any common ground? Are we also like, by with you sharing about yourself, they'll share about themselves, and you can kind of see and draw like, the Venn diagram to see like where you guys have, similar interests. Um, so in short, you can talk to them really about anything within the confines of your boundaries and their boundaries, and definitely veer away from strong political statements that could get them in trouble. And then also the previously mentioned. Also, when you are matched, we're going to give you all of this information in a very clear document. So don't worry about like remembering all of this or taking notes. You'll definitely have this at your disposal when you are matched with your pen pal. Why is it important for why does your authentic, reliable, consistent support matter? um so I think, like, as I said before, I really do think that this is one of the most valuable forms of support that you can provide to your pen pal. In a way, many prisoners only or lack communication with the outside, if it's not their direct family members, which is, I mean, I don't know about you. I just don't know how many of us can like take a phone call with our mother or father every week, or I mean every day. There's really, I guess you can say, limits to how much you can talk to your own family. And many of us will typically, grow tired of them eventually. And I think it's, very important to have friends or other people to talk to. So I think, you know, for some people, this is the only connection that they have outside of their direct families. But then for others, it's really the only connection that they have at all, period, because some of them don't even necessarily have their family support. Especially considering the type of prisoners that we support, it's very, very isolating. When you're talking about war on terror, convictions, or people who were like, accused of terrorism, it's very, very isolating in the sense that it's more isolating than just any other typical charge, because really the whole community turns their back on you, because there's a line that needs to be drawn in the sand by other Muslims or other community members that don't want to associate with you out of fear. So it's extremely isolating. A lot of the friends that you would have once had are no longer around. It's really, really important for them to have friends. And so I think it it's really not a small thing that you would be doing for them. It's really actually a big thing, especially if you do it right. Um, so for many, and when I say do it right, I kind of just mean the basic consistency. And there's obviously not one right way to do this, but I just mean as in you consistently show up and you are genuine and authentic. Um, yeah, so I think also at the same time it's very disappointing. So that's when someone is not when someone doesn't show up, or when they have hope that this person will show up and then they don't. So that's why it's really important that you are authentic, reliable, and consistent, because it's very, very disheartening for them to receive one letter or two letters or three letters, and then the person that they thought that they were really building a social connection with just kind of disappears. So definitely ask yourself if this is something that you're genuinely going to be committed to for the long term. It also means a lot to them, and these are just some quotes that I wanted to share with you guys, that prisoners have shared with me in regards to what the letter writing means to them. So this is, I mean, I put them both anonymously, just because, for their safety. But yeah, so the person says, Assalamu alaikum, Nida. I hope all is well with you. I wanted to say I really appreciate your efforts with this program. I pray that it is successful. I can't tell you how many times I tell people that correspondence in this place can be, in a sense, more essential than agriculture. And another political prisoner stated that every time you write a letter and that letter passes through all those barriers, walls, and bars, and it finally slips itself under a prisoner's door, do you know what that does? It reminds him or her that they still exist, that they still matter, that they have occupied a place in someone else's mind beyond the walls and the barbed wire. It reignites the dying light of hope, and it helps them go on for just a little longer. Yeah. So your support and your connection, you just you talking to them is really, really important, and it's very valuable, and it's more support than they can put into words sometimes. So yeah. Yeah, so now I guess it's time to sign up. If you heard everything that I said, if you feel like this is something that you can do, and there's still going to be a chance for questions, don't worry. um this is where you would sign up, and this is a QR code. You can like scan it with your phone, and it'll take you to a Google form where you can sign up. There's also, this is the bit.ly, to where you can also fill out that same form. It asks you a couple of questions, just so that I can be able to make a better guess when pairing people, and trying to make it so that I pair people who are more likely to get along or have good conversation with each other. That's also my email right there. So neda@civilfreedoms.org. Feel free to email me at any point in time, and ask more questions if you're interested. Maybe you're not interested in joining the program now, but you want to, you decide that you want to join later on, or decide that this is something you can take on at whatever point in time. Please do feel free to reach out. We will be hosting more orientations in the future, similar to this, and I think we might even be posting like a recording of just like the presentation portion where it was just me and the slides online, so they might be able to watch it and then sign up. But we will definitely we'll post on our social medias, and we'll send emails out with all the whatever it is that we have going on.